Directions for questions 5 to 8. The passage overall talks about privatization of government owned industries or state owned industries. Also, the passage talks about specific instances of privatization that was done in United Kingdom or England. Now, what it says is that by 1979, the total borrowings and losses of state owned industries, that is, government owned industries, were running at around £3 billion a year. By selling many of these industries, the government has decreased these borrowings and losses and gained over £34 billion from the sales. And now it receives taxes from the newly privatized companies. And that has dramatically improved the economy, and the government has been able to repay 12.5% of its national debt. The next paragraph talks about more specific instances of these kind of benefits. That is, it has rescued a whole economy headed for disaster, and it has raised the level of performance in every area. At two companies, specifically British Airways and British Gas, the productivity per employee has risen by 20%. At another company called British Ports, labor disruptions, which were common in the 1970s and early 80s, have now virtually disappeared. At another company called British Telecom, there is no longer a waiting list to have a telephone installed. So companies have become more efficient after privatization. Part of this improved productivity has come about because of the employees of privatized industries were given the opportunity to buy shares in their own companies. So many of these people who are working in these privatized industries, they were allowed to buy shares in their own companies. They responded enthusiastically to the offer of these shares. And at British Aerospace, almost 90% of the eligible workforce bought shares. At British Ports, again 90%, and at British Telecom, 92% of the people bought shares. And they have become the owners of the company, and they value their company. So that is how productivity has increased. So it says that when people have a personal stake in something, that is when they own the shares of the company, they think about it, care about it, and work to make it prosper. That is how the companies have become more efficient. Let us look at the questions now. The passage supports which of the following statements about employees buying shares in their own companies? At three different companies, approximately 9 out of 10 of the workers were eligible to buy shares. That is wrong. Among the people who were eligible to buy shares, 9 out of 10 bought shares. But how many people were eligible, that is not mentioned. Among those who are eligible, 90% bought shares. That is all. So how many of them were eligible to buy shares, that we don't know. So A is wrong. Look at B. Approximately 90% of the eligible workers at three different companies chose to buy shares in their companies. That is true. Hence, option B is the right answer. According to the passage, all of the following were benefits of privatizing state-owned industries in UK, except what? What is not mentioned? Privatized industries pay tax to the government. Yes, that is mentioned. After privatization, they started paying tax to the government. So A is mentioned, so it can be eliminated. We need to find out the one which has not been mentioned. The government gained revenue from selling state-owned industries. Yes, that is mentioned. So B can be eliminated. The government repaid some of its national debt. That is also mentioned. All these are mentioned in the first paragraph. Profits from industries that were still state-owned increased. That is not mentioned, and that probably did not happen also. So what is not mentioned is option D. According to the passage, which of the following resulted in increased productivity in companies that have been privatized? Why did the companies become more productive? A large number of employees chose to purchase shares in these companies. That is the right answer. That is, they bought shares and they became the virtual owners of these companies, and they started caring for the companies, and that is how the companies increased their productivity. Hence, option A is the right answer. It can be inferred from the passage that the author considers labor disruptions to be what? An inevitable problem in a strong national economy? No. A positive sign of employee concern about a company? No. The from the passage we can see that labor disruptions are considered to be a bad thing, not a positive sign. A predictor of employees' reactions to a company's offer to sell shares? That is also wrong. A phenomenon found more often in state-owned industries than in private companies. So this is mentioned. These labor disruptions were mostly in state-owned industries rather than in private companies. Hence, D is the right answer.